These illustrations of the house show why it's so important to start with the correct orientation. You can start drawing the base part on either of the reference planes, but starting on the top plane, plane A, results in a part that's much easier to visualize. The next decision, where to start. With what sketch? The top, the front, or right? And in this case, it's easier to start with the top sketch. Now I'm going to start with a rectangle again, but this time to do that I'm going to use a line. And let me explain why. I'll lock to this top reference plane. I'm going to turn off my base reference planes right here and flip around to the sketch view. What I want to do is create a line so the center of the line is at the center of the axis. Now what do I mean by that? Well, if I come up here to type, you can see where it says symmetric. You can also just type S to get this. But I click on symmetric and now I have a line that goes both ways. And that's what I'm looking for. And so I'll type in 50, accept, and then come out 80 and just wrap back around here. So again, I have a rectangle by center, but it's not centered. The line is centered. Back up here to the circle. And I'll place a circle at the center of the axis at 25. Place another circle, and I'm going to just right mouse click to get out of that. I'm still in the command though. I can place another circle to that edge right there. I'll come up to the trim button. I'm going to trim this out and trim this out. Let's zoom in a little here. I'm going to come up here to fill it, and on the little pull down I want chamfer. The setback to be 20, tab, 20. And to understand what the setback is, I'll just come over and show you. From this to this, that's equal 20 to 20. I'll do the same thing on the other side and accept. Back to the select button. I want to identify this region. Simply push that up 30. Type in 30. Now I'm going to come back to the rectangle by center and lock to this front face. So lock to the face. Look at that with sketch view. On the front here and right on the corner, I'm going to draw a rectangle 120 by 45. Spin that around, come up to my select button, and now I'd like to remove all this material. But it's just picking that area right there, this region. So what I could do is go to extrude, and I don't want a face, I'm just going to say a chain. What that does is when I identify the whole thing and then come back to add cut and say I'd like to cut the whole thing away, then I can just cut that away, and that's what I want. Now I'd like to add some geometry on this front center reference plane, so I'm going to come back over and turn on my base reference planes, then come up to the line command, identify this reference plane, the XZ reference plane, look at that in sketch view, and from this top peak to the bottom peak, I'm just going to follow this line here to create a closed region. That's what I want. So I'll come back up to select region, and I'd like to push this both ways, so I'll come over to symmetric and then lock to this little point right here. Maybe it's easier to see right there. Now I don't know why it's not picking up this edge right here. Well, the reason is, I don't know why they have this as the default, but this key point, I want to change that. So I'm coming over here to key point and say, just find everything. So if I'm over here and looking for an endpoint, it'll find that endpoint. I can turn off my base reference planes. And there's my finished part.